Well, hello everyone. It has been quite a while. A lot of stuff going on. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. So much stuff going on. Um, I don't even know where to begin. I guess I can just touch back on the same old of what has been happening, which is, I am on maternity leave still. I am nearing the end, and I think I've told you guys a couple times about like the massive issues I have been having with my employer while on maternity leave. It's actually been really tough to fully immerse myself and enjoy this time that I have with my little baby because I have been having to battle consistently and constantly with my employer. Um, just a quick recap. Essentially, I'm commission only, and once my employer knew I was nearing my maternity leave, they stopped sending me business entirely. So, like at the beginning of the year, I wasn't really seeing any good qualified leads. I mean, I was getting some leads, not many, but they were like, kind of bottom of the barrel, like 480 credit scores, like bankruptcies, like no co-signers, like people that there's just no way. I mean, as much as I'd love to help them and they need the help, it's impossible. So, really, really crappy, business, essentially. I managed to scrape up just a few, which is, again, really unlike me. I have been a top performer historically in this company, and I do mean that, since I started. I've always been like in the top three. Last year, I ended in the top five, which is not good enough for me. And there's a whole thing with that too. There's a lot of like inside like shady stuff that's been happening. In fact, for like the past year in particular, stemming from, let's just say, I'm a part of what's called the West Coast team. We cover West Coast territories. There was three of us total, and the other folks, had this idea like let's work together as an actual team, and any job that one person sells, we all split the commission on it, right? And so I'm like, well, that's actually a cool idea because, if somebody's on vacation or has a sick day or whatever, like no matter what, you're still generating income. And then also you're not working against one another, like you are wanting to see each other flourish to accomplish the goals as a unified team. Well, I wanted to say for some reason, but I know the reason. I, of the three, was the only one, and also happenstancely, the only woman in sales who was not allowed to be a part of the team. So I work with all guys. I'm the only woman, have been. And yeah, I was unallowed to be a part of the West Coast team, though I am exclusively West Coast. And the reason being given was that it was too hard to divide by 3 versus 2, because, being an accountant, it's really tough, especially with a calculator. And, I mean, I get it. It's like, oh, well, like when it comes to cents, I can guarantee you not a single one of us cares about pennies. Like, put it in an employee fund, for like appreciation day or something. Like, we don't care about that. But either way, there's a lot with that. And that is actually directly stemming from the CFO of the company. What I've gathered is she is sexist, actually, because it's not just me. Like any woman I've seen in the company who is actually like good and skilled and very like reliable and awesome at their job, they have been like driven out by this individual or they have been fired for super unfair reasons. Neither here nor there. Something I've ignored. I've been battling it for a while. There was that toilet paper incident. I don't know if you guys remember that. I talked about that, how she told me while I was very pregnant to walk across the icy parking lot to come get a roll of toilet paper if I had to use the restroom because, leaving a couple extras in my office was a big issue because they were running out over there and they could only order so many from Sam's Club, and I'm just like, I feel like there's a much better solution than that. Whatever. I'm backtracking here. a lot of issues, and it's been stemming over the past couple years, and it's something I've largely ignored. I just like whatever, like be who you are, like hassle me, give me a hard time, I don't care. I'm just making my money. I'm just being productive. But now that my income is being so greatly affected, and a lot of it is largely due to this individual, my perspective is changing considerably. So anyway, they knew I was going on maternity leave. They stopped sending me business. I managed to scrape up like 3 sales. And usually for me, a typical month is 3 to 5 sales on average. Sometimes I do 7, sometimes I do 9, sometimes I think the most I've done is like 12. And granted, winter months tend to be a little bit slower, sure, but the amount that I'm behind versus the amount of activity, which had only increased, and then my skill, which has also only gotten better over time, not worse, the numbers don't make sense. Law of averages, right? Whatever. So definitely some weird things going on with that. Brought it to the attention of my like direct boss, and got kind of like the same old answer of like, oh yeah, no, everything's fair, everything's fine, blah blah blah. Well, lo and behold, I find out in March, like shortly before I actually go into labor with my daughter, that lead counts were confirmed to be off. So that's just another thing. But yes, I had gotten considerably less than one of the other individuals on the West Coast team. Oops. And of course, nothing was done about it. There was no correction. There was no anything. So it's just they simply were choosing to not give me anything. And I don't know if it's just intentional manipulation. I don't know if it's like some maybe unethical methods being used for dispersion, or just a total failure on behalf of the team that does the dispersion. Could be all three. I think it's probably all three. But either way, it was very, very difficult just to get the 3 jobs that I managed to sell before I left. So as the commission goes, I get half when I get a signature on the contract, and then I get the second half once the vehicle is like delivered or picked up. So sometimes that takes a while, especially if we're like building a brand new car. So sure, understood. Well, either way, I had a customer from Alaska, in fact, that wanted to come pick up their vehicle because they did not want to spend the $5,000 for delivery. Understand. And was planning on doing it in May, potentially, which I would be on my maternity leave. I brought this concern up to my boss prior to going on leave, because my company also has a policy where if a car is like ready to go, if you will, that you are only allotted so many days for it to continue to sit there like in our delivery room or shipping room before, they start getting really agitated and then want to start charging like storage fees, right? So I brought up this concern to my boss directly, told him like, hey, like this guy is like hoping to do this around this time. He's coming in from Alaska. Like, I'm concerned because there's also another rule that was implemented that if you as a salesperson are not physically present for a like in-store pickup, the company wants to deduct $500 from your paycheck. And at this rate of having so little to have generated for myself, I can't afford to lose $500 off of my pay. And, spoke to my boss. He was like, don't worry about it. We'll figure something out. Like, don't worry, like, blah, blah, blah. And when it came down to the brass tacks, if you will, customer emails me, says he's ready, to pick up. This is when he's hoping to do it. I say, hey, let me check with admin, make sure like this is going to work for everyone. Before I even had a chance to communicate that with anybody, and I'm assuming that they had access to my email, and by they I mean admin, had been monitoring or something, automatically like scheduled this guy, like put it on the calendar, sent me an invite. And so to me, I'm like, well, maybe they're aware of the situation, right? And something's figured out. So, I let the guy know. I'm like, hey, it looks like, the admin's great with this day. Like, this works, can't wait to see you, hope everything goes great. And then I do a follow-up email to say, hey, so what's going on? Like, is somebody able to help me with this essentially? Are you guys like expecting me to come in? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't want to be penalized, more or less. And I got an immediate email that said, yes, you are going to be penalized, and that's that. And I said, well, you were the one who scheduled this, not me. Like, if it was reliant on me and I knew that this is how it was going to go, despite my boss telling me that you guys would handle this and help me out, I could have delayed the pickup for my return. And, they shot back, well, we can't just seize business because you're gone. And I said, I totally agree. Like, I don't want to hold up the customer either. But I don't think that it's fair, when I'm on FMLA, that you go ahead and schedule this knowing that there's a penalty and then want to penalize me. And so, yeah, they were like, well, we could have we can take all of your second half rather than just 500. I'm just like, that's totally unfair. And then also, I know for a fact that there are other salespeople very recently who have not been present for their own pickups, if you will, because they double booked themselves and they were not penalized. And I do have that in writing, by the way. So, I've got to get HR involved, which HR is a joke with the company. Like, it's really not a real position. They don't do anything. HR is in relations with someone important in the company, right? Like, it's laughable. But anyway, I'm just like, as a formality, doing that. Contact them, include them with everything, and, just say, this is what's going on. And apparently a week later, they had a manager meeting and decided that, yeah, they're going to go ahead and penalize me. And I'm like, okay. So I did contact a lawyer. I contacted a lawyer, and, his advice was like, hey, shoot back an email, kind of word it like this. And so I did. And I did get a response from the HR, and they said, we will consider your request and we'll get back to you like in a few days, essentially. Well, nearly 3 weeks went by without a response. And I'm finally like, this has been ample time for a response. So, send another follow-up email and just was like, hey, haven't heard back from you. What's going on? And, I worded it better than that, but just to cut it down. It's already a long video, but cut it down. Yeah, what's up? I need a response by this day. Gave them to the end of the week. And they did give me a response and was like, okay, we will accommodate you. Cool, thanks. Like, why are you giving me such a hard time? Like, that's crazy. You've allowed other salespeople to get away without being penalized. But me, who's on FMLA, literally just gave birth, had an emergency C-section, had a high-risk pregnancy, have been a top performer. You're treating me like this. All right. Like, I don't know. None of it's, like, making any sense. Other than the fact that all I can think is that the CFO in particular of this company is just had it out for me since day one. And I hardly interact with this individual. So, whatever. We'll accommodate you. And so they were like, well, we need like a letter about your short-term disability that gives clearance for you, to you to come back to work. And I'm like, okay, well, let me work on that. And, I said, also, I want to use like my available PTO to like extend my time. I've got some time built up, and because, really I'm just like, I'm not ready to leave my daughter yet. Like, I want to use as much time as I can before I have to go. And, I had a question about that. And then also, unrelated to this delivery that I'm talking about that I'm being accommodated for, I had another job that was delivered by our shipping company that was delivered on April 27th. And then yet another rule was implemented that we now have to do a customer satisfaction meeting to fulfill our second half, which is generated by admin to complete, which they're not quick about anything. So they set it for like the day after. But I'm on it. Talked to the guy, he's happy with the car. Only thing he had to say was like, I need another mounting plate because you need 2 here in my state. And I said, well, it only comes with 1, like you can get one on Amazon, whatever. And completed it. And here it is, literally a month later. And I have still not been paid the second half for that one. So I inquired about that, like, what's going on with this? And also, I'm like, my health insurance that I have had to pay out of pocket because, I don't get any money for being on leave of any sort. I wanted the premiums taken out of that commission, and they would still give me, a little bit left over after that. No response. Week goes by, and that was to HR. Week goes by. Finally, like, I need an answer by this day. Like, this should be on this check, and I want to see it on this check immediately. No answer. Just got a response yesterday. So we're over a week now. That says, essentially, like, we're going to give you the PTO you wanted. Got your short-term disability clearance. Don't know what's going on with that pay because the CFO is on vacation. I'm like, it's been a month since this car has been delivered. And that required 0 accommodation. So, I don't know, just lots of shady shit I'm dealing with here, like really shady stuff. So I'm quite angry. I'm very disappointed. I am not okay with being disrespected. I've been disrespected a lot in a multitude of ways in the 4.5 years I've been with this company. But like I said, I just kind of grinned and bared it, brushed it aside because like I'm getting paid, and I do love what I do. And I do love the product overall. And the owner of the company, I think, is a really cool person, is a good person. And I really don't think that he knows exactly what's going on. I mean, maybe he does, but I don't know. We've had really nice rapport. So, I don't know. It's not cool. I'm not okay with it. And I'm not going to put up with it. And I see, like, them trying to, like, squeeze me out, I guess. That's how I feel. Maybe that's not true. But I'm also like, I'm not going to continue allowing this kind of treatment. And I also don't like that in a commission-only job that what you make is supposed to be totally dependent on how much you put effort in and how skillful you are. And that's no longer the case. Like now it is manipulated and controlled by admin, management, the people who are supposed to disperse the leads. I don't know exactly. Maybe other salespeople getting in the system and, scooping up things before they're dispersed. I don't know. Either way, like something has drastically changed. And it's not only unfair, it's very unethical, and I'm not going to play that game. Like, my time is valuable. My skills are highly valuable. And no matter what company I choose to put my time into, I'll be an asset. They will thrive and I will thrive. Anywhere I go, it's the case. Like, I hate to sound cocky because I'm quite a humble person, but it's the truth. So, they're making a huge mistake by screwing with me so much, and I am actually quite a patient person, though I feel like I'm not a lot. I am. I have the ability to keep my cool, be level-headed, and I'm not going to play the game. It shouldn't be a game. It should be straightforward. Like, you go to your job, you do your work, you do it well, you get paid, you go home. That's it. It shouldn't be anything more. And it's become a lot more. So, yeah, I still don't know what's going on. I still haven't been paid. And they are messing with the wrong person here because I won't let up on it. Which, again, has been causing a great amount of stress and irritation and restless nights because it's something that I have to take care of that is not taken care of, on top of, again, adjusting to life with a newborn and healing from a major surgery. And then the income part, right? Like, things are more expensive than ever. Like, everything has went up, from electricity to fuel to water, rent even has went up. Like, every single thing, groceries, everything has went up considerably. So I'm here, living off of my bit of savings with nothing else coming in, and there was no opportunity prior to this moment in time to give myself some cushion. So whatever. I've said whatever several times, but that's where I'm at. That's the place. So anyway, that's a large recap for that. And I think I'm going to part 2 this because we are 22 minutes in and you've already signed off 3 minutes into this. So all right, I'll be right back.